Hey everybody, it's Allison with Wishes Family Travel. Thank you for joining me today for our lunch and learn about the perfect age to take your child to Walt Disney World Resort. You're going to see me look down a little bit and check some notes, so I wanted to let you guys know that's what I'm doing when I look away from the camera. So, over the course of the 3 years that I've been a travel agent, one of the questions that I get a good bit from people who are considering a vacation is, what age do I want to take my children to Walt Disney World? And it may surprise you that honestly my answer before I had two children was that the age of 5 was ideal. Our oldest son was 5 the first time we went. He was able to walk. He was able to enjoy a lot of different things. However, our second son was born, and our kids are 7 years apart, and we didn't want to not visit Walt Disney World with our oldest just because we had a baby in our house. Even though we had always said, we're not going to be those people who take a stroller to Disney. We're just not going to do that. We don't want to have to fight with diapers and bottles and, formula and baby food and all those things. Well, that flew out the window when we decided it might be several years before our youngest son was 5, like our oldest was, and that maybe we might want to rethink that just a little bit. So we did. Our youngest son, was 8 months old the first time that he went to Disney World. So having that experience, I'm here to tell you now, there's really not a perfect age for your child to visit Disney, but there will be perfect moments at any age. Let me say that again. There is not a perfect age to take your child to Walt Disney World, but there are perfect moments at every age that your children are going to visit. I'm going to turn the camera now so that you can see some pictures of my youngest on that first trip, and I'll give you a little more information as you look at those. So give me just a second. I'm going to whirl around here. Here we go. And I'm going to turn the camera so that you can see. And I apologize, there's a little bit of a glare. So this was my youngest son when he was 8 months old on his first trip. Hi, Kathy. His first trip to Walt Disney World. There's no way he'll ever remember this trip, just not going to happen. But we remember lots of things about this trip. One of the things, of course, is this picture. This was his first pair of ears, which he now has outgrown. Unfortunately, my children are blessed with very large heads. So his first pair of ears, he only wore this one trip, and then he outgrew them. So we remember this, and this was one of those, he fell asleep in the park because he was tired, and I put the ears on his head and just snapped the picture. One of the other things that we really enjoyed about that first trip was him meeting characters. This is him meeting Cinderella for the first time, and you can see he's really looking at her. He doesn't know who she is, but he's looking at her, and her response to him was, "Well, aren't you a tiny mouse?" And that's a memory that I will always treasure, is Cinderella, who is my favorite Disney princess, telling my youngest son that he's a tiny mouse. So on our next visit, of course, like I said, our kids are 7 years apart. He was closer to 3. He had met Mickey before, but when he met Mickey at 8 months old, it was very different than meeting Mickey for the first time when he was 3. And you can see by the look on his face, he's not quite sure what to make of Mickey. But I love this picture because it's the genuine smile and surprise of meeting Mickey, when he can remember it. And he remembers this trip because he'll be 4 in a couple of weeks, and this was right at a year ago, but he still remembers this trip. One of the things that he really remembers is that we went to Magic Kingdom one night, and he was terrified of the noise of the fireworks, so we took him inside Gaston's Tavern. We had never been in Gaston's Tavern because it was always really, really busy. That night, because everyone was at the fireworks, it wasn't busy at all. So one of the things he remembers, is that he went in there and that he had LeFou's brew, which he calls Foo's brew. And he remembers drinking that and getting to hang out and sit in Gaston's big chair. And so that was really cool. Now, will he remember that in 2 more years? Probably not, but that's okay because we're going to remember it. This was our most recent trip in June. He had gone through a phase earlier in the year where he was kind of scared of characters. But we got lucky over at Animal Kingdom in Rafiki's Planet Watch. Doc McStuffins didn't have anybody else around, and so she played with him and danced with him, and finally he warmed up enough that he would give her a hug. And he really enjoyed meeting her. This is probably one of my favorites. One of the things that we did for our first son, first visit, was to start his pen collection. I don't know if any of you collect pens, but that's one of the things that we started early on, was a Disney pen collection. So this is my youngest with his pen collection. You can see he's got the pens in his hands, and he's picked out his lanyard, which had all the classic characters on it, and he's really excited that, you know, he gets to start his pen collection like his big brother. So it's pretty cool that, you know, we have all those things. Now, you know, in terms of remembering, again, our oldest was 5, and we thought that was a perfect age at the time, because we thought, oh, he'll remember everything. He's 11 now, and he doesn't remember a whole lot about that first trip, sadly. He remembers bits and pieces, but, you know, we remember things such as the town crier telling us, hey, everybody, he's 5 fingers old, because we celebrated his birthday that year in Disney. So, you know, that's one of those things that your kids are probably not going to remember everything that happened, but you will. Which, again, perfect moments at any age, not the perfect age. So I'm going to, turn back around to me now. You know, my point in sharing all of this is, if you're considering a vacation and you feel like your children are too young, don't feel that way. They may not remember everything that happens on this trip. You're probably not going to remember everything either, but through pictures, videos, you know, journaling, if you do that, you're going to remember a whole lot more than you think. And I'm here to tell you that when your kids get older, it's really going to be priceless memories to have. Our oldest is, you know, a tween now, so he has his moments, and, you know, remembering those special moments on the trips, thinking back to the fun things that we've done, those are priceless. You know, you can't put a value on that. So, you know, don't put off a trip just because you feel like your child isn't old enough. They're going to remember a whole lot more than you realize. Maybe not long term, but at least, you know, a year out, my 3-year-old, almost 4-year-old, remembers a good bit about that very first trip that he can remember, which was last September. So if you're on the fence, you're not sure if you want to travel with children that age, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I have experience with 8-month-old, 5-year-old, 11-year-old, 3-year-old, and now almost 4-year-old in Disney parks and on Disney Cruise Line. So I can give you some tips and suggestions on things that you can do to make your life easier. You know, if you've got little babies, where you're going to take them to change diapers, where you're going to warm bottles, that kind of thing. So if you've got questions, feel free to private message me. You can comment and leave those questions there, and I'll respond. You can email me. My email address is Allison, ALLISONF, @wishesfamilytravel.com. You can give me a call or send me a text. That number is 828-289-7658. So thank you again for joining me today. I wanted to keep this kind of brief. I'm probably going to do a blog on this too, and I'll link that up in just a little bit so you guys can have that for reference too. But if you've got any questions, again, feel free to contact me. Reach out in any manner you want to, or leave those comments for me. Thanks, guys.